I know what I was going to say. I just wanted to stop and say, because at this moment while I was watching it, I was having a really fun time with this episode.
Oh, watching it or filming it back in the day?
Watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, like while I was watching it, I was like, I'm just having so much fun. It just kind of made me nostalgic for everything at this moment. Like nostalgic for just like walking down the hall and hanging out, you know, or like you just coming to my room and hanging with my sister. And
well, getting ready before the parties was one of the most fun times, I thought.
Yeah, and you know what? They don't show it at all in this episode. I'm sure we're going to get to that, but they don't show it at all here.
That's weird, because isn't Laurent in it?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I think that maybe, well, I'll wait till we get to it because it's coming up. But the next scene is I take Anastasia to the salon. And I have Winnie with me. And I'm thinking, why do I have Winnie with me? Because it's very strange. I don't usually, like, take her to the salon and, like, all my errands or anything like that with me.
Maybe you have, like, a vet appointment right after or something.
Possibly. I think what's happening is Laurent wanted to see her, maybe.
Oh, that makes sense.
And so I just thought, oh, well, I'm just dropping Anastasia off, so I'll bring Winnie and he can see her and stuff, because he's holding her a lot during the scene. But I thought it was really weird. And then it's just like even seeing Laurent, and I still go to Laurent, by the way, but like just like that whole time period and that whole thing and stuff. And the hair extension guy, and Laurent says blonde. She need to be blonde.
That's so funny. I also noticed that speaking of Frankenbiting, they add audio of Laurent going, voila, but they layer it over a footage of him with a completely closed mouth. So it's just like you hear Laurent's voice, voila, but he's standing there like with no mouth open or movement or anything.
That's funny. And he says, I want a big makeover. And Anastasia says, I do too.
I want a big makeover.
Yeah.
I love Laurent.
I do too. And then he rocks me out and he says, leave your sister. She's in good hands.
Oh, do you want to know something funny I heard? Somebody hit me up in my DMs and said that they used to work at the Jose Hebert salon. And they said that after the recruiter got kicked out, she called and she said she still wanted to come there, but they had to like make sure that she was never there at the same time as me. Like she made a big stink about it.
Oh, she made the stink about it. Oh my gosh.
So funny.
So she didn't want to run into you.
Yeah.
You would think it'd be the other way around, that you were like, I don't want her here when I'm here.
Well, I think I just assumed that she wouldn't be back because that was a really expensive salon, but it just didn't occur to me that anybody would still go there.
Right.
After leaving the mansion.
And then they make this hair extension day look like it's the day of the party. And I just want to tell people, like, extension, hair, color and extension and cut and all that stuff takes so long. Like, there's no way it was the same day as the party.
What kind of extensions did she get? Were they clip-in? Were they individuals? Were they
individuals?
Tracks? Okay, so individuals, you guys, because I did individuals for a while, which I hate individuals because they look like spaghetti. Not on Anastasia, they look good, but I felt like they always looked like spaghetti on me. And you would sit there and it would be like a 6-hour day getting those individuals put in your hair.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive they were individuals. We can double check with her, but I'm pretty positive they were individuals.
Yeah, those were crazy. And the weird thing about individuals is they would start to like randomly shed from your hair at different times. So sometimes I'd be sitting outside at buffet, like when we would have outdoor buffet on Sundays, and I'd be running my fingers through my hair and I would feel one start to come out.
Yeah.
So I'd like wrap it in a little ball and like shove it in a bush behind me.
They're probably still finding those in there today.
Yeah, I was just like shedding rat tails all over the place.
They would like pull. Like I would have one that would like be pulling one single hair.
Yeah.
And so I would like pick at it and pick at it and pick at it to try and like loosen it up. And then before I know it, the whole extension is coming out.
Yeah, because as your hair grows and naturally sheds, they would just start to loosen.
Yeah, they're not that fun. But I thought her color looked so good.
It really did.
Yeah, and then so after she does the color, I liked it because it was blonde, but not like too blonde.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like she's technically blonde, but it's not like anything that looks out of the ordinary on her. It's still flattering.
Yeah, and then after she gets the extensions, then she has to go back in for the haircut. So it's a really, really long process, a long day. But I like how they intercut the scene with Hef getting his haircut.
Oh my God, you guys, this scene Okay, first of all, way back in the day when this show first came out and I first watched this scene, I thought it was really cool because I remember when we were being told that we were going to do a reality show, one of the things I did look forward to was I thought it would be fun to see stuff that everybody else did during the day that I don't get to see, like you at Barry's boot camp, you hiking Runyon Canyon, Kendra's massage school, and in this case, Hef getting his hair cut, because he'd get his hair cut maybe like once a month or something, and he'd go do it down in the library, and I was just never there for it. So it's fun to kind of see that.
Yeah, I feel like out of all the years we've been there, I never once saw his haircut guy.
Yeah, no way. And another thing I thought when I watched this back was they do an interview with his hairdresser, and the hairdresser's like all leaning back, and I thought the interview kind of came off or was framed a little like pompous, like, I just want to make everybody feel good about themselves.
I just want to help people, yeah.
But then I felt bad for thinking that, because I'm like, you know what? He loves his job. He's trying to like break it down to like the bare roots of like what appeals to me about this job. But in the moment when I watched it, I did kind of feel like the producer was kind of poking fun at him a little bit, just because I know his sense of humor and I know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
But then, as we were watching this episode and reviewing it, Bridget, you alerted me to a podcast that Hef's old hairdresser went and did recently. And I went and I listened to this interview, and I was so offended by it that I no longer feel bad about thinking his interview sounded pompous. And we're going to talk more about that on the Patreon this week. We're going to do a whole slumber party episode about that interview and what we thought about that interview. So tune in if you're interested in that.
Yeah, well, it's just because I was sitting here thinking when I watched this episode, that's so crazy that for 7 years I lived there and I could not have told you who cut Hef's hair. Not only have I never heard of him, not only did I never hear of him at the mansion, like even hear his name brought up, but I would have never picked him out in a lineup. Like I would never have known who cut Hef's hair. So it was kind of insightful to watch this scene and watch it back again. And I had the same feelings. I felt like this guy's kind of like full of himself, and I thought, oh no, he's just edited that way.
Yeah.
And then, I was curious, like, who is this guy? Like, how do you get picked to do Hef's hair? And so I just did like a quick little search, and then I found this interview, and I was like, oh, wait a minute here.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that you never met him, because I don't remember ever meeting him either. Like maybe I saw him in passing, because what he would do was he would come up maybe once a month or every 6 weeks or however often Hef got his hair cut. He'd come in, walk straight into the library, because there's a whole separate door that goes into the library. I think he probably walked straight in there. Hef would come get his hair done, and then he'd leave. And he would come to the big parties as well. But 1,000 people come to the big parties.
Yeah.
So maybe he came up to the table and said hi to Hef, and I might have smiled and said hi back to be polite, but I couldn't have told you who this guy was. Oh, but he has opinions on this podcast.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm a bitch, apparently, so that's cool.
Yeah. Do you remember the haircut joke they used to tell all the time? It was more...
how Hef would say he's getting his ears lowered?
That one. Yes, that's one of
like,
them.
He would call it haircut. He's going, I'm getting my ears lowered.
Yes. But then do you remember the one Dickie used to always say?
No, tell me.
Whether I said it to Dickie or whether I said it to Hef, I would say, oh, looks like you got a haircut today. And he's like, not one haircut. I got all my hairs cut.
Oh, my God. I don't remember that. Dun-dun-dun.
Every time. And I'm just like, okay,
the
I know.
dad joke is alive and well at the Playboy Mansion.
So I had to remind myself every time I say it, don't say you got your hair cut. I had to say, oh, you got all your hairs cut today.
That's funny. You had to just work your way around that one. And I do want to say with this scene, I feel like Hef is being a very good sport with this scene, because granted, a haircut probably didn't take very long, but I know Hef hated anything that felt like an obligation. So I can't imagine that he was ever super excited to get his hair cut. I'm never super excited to get my hair done.
Me neither. I hate having to do salon stuff. No matter how much I love the people I see at the salon, I hate going to do it.
Yeah, I always take like a ton of homework or a book or something.
Me too.
And, I just know Hef so well. I know that he was never loved doing anything that felt like an obligation. So for him to be sitting there and kind of like in a good mood for this scene, like I feel like he's being a very good sport in this scene.
Yeah, they're bantering about peacocks and stuff like that.
And he's making kind of funny jokes.
Yeah, nothing too exciting.
Speaking of funny jokes, later in an interview, Kendra talks about what people wear to the Midsummer Night's Dream Party, and she says 2 Band-Aids and a cork. And like that was Hef's joke he would say all the time about what people wore to the mansion, obviously meaning like 2 Band-Aids over your nipples and a cork up your hole.
Yeah. Ew.
I think I drew a cartoon of that once.
In commentary, Kendra says that people try and sell Hef's hair on eBay.
What? They didn't really, did they?
I don't know. Where did they get it? There's only one place they could have gotten it, and that would be from the hairdresser who's collecting it after he leaves.
Was she joking?
I don't know.
Oh, that's weird.
I know. And then Kendra comes and visits. It cuts to Kendra coming to visit Anastasia at the salon. And I thought that was kind of bad, too, because it gave away... The hair was the biggest transformation on my sister. And I feel like that gave away a lot of the transformation already for the big reveal later.
Yeah, right before we get to the reveal, I have a few things to say about how I feel like this episode was missing something. Like, I know we like to talk about what episodes we think were well done from a storytelling perspective, which I think episode 5, Fight Night, was well done. I think episode 6, Operation Playmate, was well done. I think episode 4, even though I love the Vegas episode and it might be my favorite episode of the season, it was missing a weird beat toward the end. And we'll get to it, but I feel like this episode was missing a beat toward the end.
Interesting. Yeah, and then that's when Anastasia asks her what she's wearing, and she pulls out this little tiny nipple cover.
Pasty.
Yeah, pasty thing. And she says she doesn't start planning her outfit until like a week before. And
Wait, that can't be true though, because that was a custom-made trashy lingerie outfit.
Yeah, I know. But they're really trying to show the differences here, because the very, very first scene when I walk into Trashy, I say, yeah, so I came in here like a month or 2 ago and put in my order and like did the sketch and showed them what I was going to do. Now I'm coming back for like fittings and stuff like that. And then it shows you going, I don't know what I'm going to wear. I got to figure this out. And then Kendra's like, oh, I don't care what I'm going to wear. And then her comment is, whatever I put on is going to be hot.
Yeah, they do that a lot. Like I noticed with separate episodes, they try to make us look like how different are these 3 people. And you're one extreme, Kendra's the other extreme. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Then we cut to the actual Midsummer's party.
And they show the seafood buffet, which I love, because that's just one of my earliest memories of going to my first Playboy party, is I remember seeing the buffet and how lavish it looked. And they had this whole seafood buffet on ice, and I thought that was so cool. And when Bridget and I were watching this episode and talking and stuff, I was doing some research into what like the later Midsummer Night's Dream parties look like the ones after we left, but before Hef passed away, like the early 2010s. And I saw a picture of what the buffet looked like, and it looked so janky.
Yeah.
It looked not even as opulent as like Hef's regular dinner and a movie on the weekends. And I was like, oh my God, I hope people don't see these pictures and think this is what I'm talking about when I talk about my first Midsummer Night's Dream experience, because it was truly an amazing party back then.
Yeah.
So I love that Girls Next Door captures the seafood buffet because that's, I don't know, it's just one of my core memories. And I'm like, yes, it does exist. Because I was sending Bridget this picture of like, wait, this isn't what the buffet looked like, did it? And she's like, no.
No way. And the seafood buffet is just a tiny part of the giant buffet.
There was like a whole gourmet cheese section.
Yes.
Like I feel like I'm kind of a cheese connoisseur from the mansion.
Yeah.
I feel like I took that away. That's one of my positive experiences.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So then it cuts to the scene. I'm in my room getting my makeup done. And I mentioned this at the beginning, but it feels off about the getting ready part, because this isn't the way it usually went down. There's usually like tons of people in the room. We were having some Jell-O shots. Like the music was going. I know we can't have music. That's the other thing, you guys. I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but we cannot have music playing when the show was filming.
Yeah, never. So it really takes the vibe away. I almost wonder, because I feel like these days, like when I'm alone by myself or in the car, I'm a big podcast listener. Like I still love music, but I'm not maybe as much of a music person as other people I know, as far as like how often I listen to it during the day. And I wonder if that was kind of bred out of me by filming a reality show.
I don't know.
Maybe not, but
that's interesting.
Because you cannot have any background noise going on at all. And I remember when we first started filming, that felt really weird.
It did feel weird, because it's just dead quiet, and then we're like, cameras are like, okay, now act normal, and you're like, but normally I'd be like singing around to the music and we'd be bopping around and stuff, and it just takes so much out of what you're doing. Or even the TV too, it takes some of that out of it, so it's really hard. But anyway, normally there would be music playing and food and jello shots and stuff in my room, and Laurent and his assistant and makeup artist and all the girls and coming and going and in and out. And this party just didn't show that. Now, I know one thing was different. I know they took Anastasia and took her out to like the game house to get ready because they wanted the reveal. So maybe people were just too spread out. Like maybe Laurent was kind of going back and forth, or the assistant was going back and forth. Maybe the makeup people were going back and forth. But it just didn't have that whole vibe that we normally had.
And it wasn't just us. It would be like the playmates staying in the other bedrooms, or the playmates staying in the guest house would come up, and we would all like pregame in your room.
Yeah, Sarah would be really up there. Fun. Sarah Underwood, Carmela would come up there, Amber Campisi, like Tiffany Fallon, like whoever was staying, Kimberly Holland. Like my room was just like the hub for getting ready for all the parties. So
yeah, it was so fun.
It was weird. It just felt like I was in there by myself with a makeup artist kind of doing that. And
yeah, it seems very disjointed.
Yeah. And we're just kind of talking in that scene about how much it takes to get ready for Midsummer Night's Dream, from the outfits to the hair to the makeup to just everything. And they zoom in on my snake shoes, and I just want to say,
those are so cute.
I made them. They were gold.
The shoes.
I'm not a cobbler. I wasn't sitting there cobbling the shoes or anything, but like I bought like a plain gold pair of shoes and then added the snake and rhinestoned it. And I think we talked about my sister helping me rhinestone it in an earlier part.
They turned out super cute.
Thank you. I love them. And they show us all ready, and then they come back to a shot of Laurent doing your hair, I think.
Maybe, but have I asked you to lace up my corset yet?
Oh, not yet. I have that. Holly says she doesn't want to just roll out of bed and have people say, oh, that's who Hugh Hefner is dating, because we're talking about, like, you know, how much it goes into getting ready.
Yeah, it was always really important to me to look good, because I remember my first impression when I came to my first Midsummer Night's Dream party, seeing the Bentley twins, and they were just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I just felt like everybody who's with Hef should, like, look that good.
Yeah. And then it shows you trying to get into your outfit, and you have this amazing Barachi gown.
Yeah, since I didn't have time to make my costume, I went to Barachi, and they had this amazing, it was like a corset with like a little extra fabric on it, basically. Yeah. And I loved it. And it really, the show doesn't do it justice. Like, you can't see from the cameras like what it really looked like in real life. Like, the lace fabric was so amazing. It was almost like a patchwork quilt of different beads, and it had these giant Swarovski teardrop crystals hanging off of it. And it was like a really light lavender color, and it was so gorgeous. And they let me borrow it for the party, and I loved it.
It was really, really beautiful. I wonder how much that was.
Well, I think our budget, you know, for a Midsummer Night's Dream party was like $1,000. So it was more than that. And they're like, okay, well, we'll let you. I bet they sold it for like at least $5,000.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You probably normally would wear a skirt with it of some sort. They also, because they made matching pieces like that, corsets with like a skirt or something.
Maybe, but I think it would look so tacky. Like, I feel like the only, like, if you paired it with something, I feel like the only way you could wear something like that is for like a lingerie party or a costume thing where you're trying to look extra fancy. I just can't picture what you would pair that with that wouldn't look ratchet. But this was the early 2000s. This was when people were wearing like the dress jean combos on the red carpet. So like I could actually see a circa 2001 Britney Spears pairing that with jeans and killing it, but only Britney Spears.
Yeah. And then you have to put it on. It's like a corset in the back and stuff. It was
really heavy.
It was very heavy. And you ask for help, and then they cut to me rolling my eyes in the mirror.
It's so bad, but you're not really rolling your eyes. It looks like maybe you have an eyelash in your eye or something, and you're like having a spasm. But they make it look like you're rolling your eyes like you're so resentful. It's basically like a replay of like episode 1 when you like roll your eyes at Crystal, even though you're not really rolling your eyes.
Yes, it's so ridiculous. It's like so here's my problem with this. There is no drama in any of this time period right here that we were legitimately shooting, and no drama at all. And I feel like they just couldn't help themselves. Like, they just had to create something there.
Yeah.
Like, we helped each other get into our clothes all the time. It was a standard no-brainer that we're going to need help getting into whatever we were getting into, most likely.
Yeah.
And there was no way I would have been rolling my eyes at this. And I'm sure nobody really thinks that I was, because, and I'm basing that just on the comments that we've gotten in the past.
Yeah.
About people who are like, no, we didn't believe it.
And it's so exaggerated and bad and like not a real eye roll.
Yeah, but I just can't stand it that everything in this whole episode has been like such great camaraderie and like everybody getting along and doing this special thing for my sister and stuff. So the fact that they just can't help themselves and they have to cut in an eye roll over something stupid just bothers me now.
It bothers me too, and it makes me wonder if the producer didn't realize, even subconsciously, that if he didn't create conflict between the three of us girls, then where's the conflict on the show gonna come from? Because I've often thought about how they portray me in the first couple seasons, how I have no personality, no motivations other than no nothing. And I always wonder, like, what would have things been like if I would have been able to be more real with the cameras and they would have really got into it. And I think that if the cameras were really capturing the real me, it would become clear real fast that my relationship with Hef was fucking dark. You know what I mean? And almost like if they don't create little catty things between us, then it might be the girls against Hef. You know what I mean? Or that might come out. Not that we ever really felt unified enough, even when we were getting along, to be like girls against Hef. But I don't know. It's just something I think about.
Well, I always thought back then, and I still think it now, that I think it's unfair that they tried to create drama between the three of us, because I feel like the real drama wasn't between the three of us. It was just keeping up with the schedule and all the crazy things that we did. There was enough drama just in life itself.
Or the drama was like Hef getting pissed at me if Kendra was late, which I talk about on the show. But I don't think anybody back then when they watched the show walked away thinking, Hef kind of sucks. Like, why would he do that? I think it's more like people walked away like, oh, Holly's a bitch and she's just jealous of Kendra. Like, that's more how they made it look.
Yeah. In commentary, you say that you got in a fight with the sound guy in this scene too, because he wanted to put a mic on you and you refused.
Yeah, I said absolutely not, because this is a really fucking expensive dress with like the most intricate like beadwork. Like, they could shove a mic down the back of the corset if they wanted, but they wanted to like clip it on. And I'm like, absolutely not. You're going to ruin it. And then I'm stuck on the hook.
Yeah.
For this show I'm not getting paid for.
And I just want to say too, later you changed, because when I was first watching this, I was so confused. I was like, wait, she's in this amazing outfit, and now all of a sudden she's in like a really basic, kind of boring bra and panty thing.
Well, I pulled a Stacey Burke, and I had to change because I was really uncomfortable. Because it was a beautiful outfit, but it was so heavy and so tight, and I was constantly terrified I was gonna like ruin a bead or something and then be on the hook for this really expensive outfit.
Yeah. In commentary you say that you had to change because it was so humid and hot and heavy, and
yeah, it really was.
Had to get it off. But I was thinking the whole time, oh, that's such a shame, because it was
I know.
It was that good. Like,
I mean, I felt like as long as I got pictures in it though, it didn't really matter.
Oh, and I also wanted to give a PS here, because there's an extra bed in my room. I don't know if anybody noticed it. And at first I was like, wait, what the heck? Why is there an extra bed in this room? And I realized, oh, wait. But because my mom is there, but they never showed her.
Weird.
Because she comes to see Anastasia's makeover, and she gets to come to the Midsummer's party. But it's so weird that they don't show her there and a part of any of this.
Yeah, not until the end.
Yeah. So there's just this extra bed in my room, no explanation. We've never seen her, even though she's obviously been there for probably at least a couple of days.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden she's just at the party.
Random.
And I feel like that's the first time you're even seeing her.
Yeah, because I don't even remember that she was there, and watching this episode back, I just thought, oh, your mom came down for the party. Cool.
Yeah, she just magically appears in the Great Hall.
Also, when we're doing this whole montage about getting ready, you guys get to see the tanning beds that were in the gym.
And then there's like all this stress waiting for Anastasia's entrance. And Holly says she feels like she's going to poop her pants.
Poop my pants. But here's where I feel like the show is missing a beat. And I feel like what would have worked really well and would have been great is, we talked about on the last episode how you said that Anastasia got a spray tan after I took her to get waxed, and she came into the room and it looked awful because she hadn't washed it off yet.
Yeah.
I feel like that scene should have been put like right before the reveal, because then it would have given this feeling of like climax, like, oh my god, no, that it's not gonna work. But then she like takes a shower and then we get the reveal. I feel like that would have made the episode a really good episode. But as it stands now, I'm like, we almost like cut to the reveal too fast, and I feel like there weren't really any stakes. And I just feel like this episode is missing a scene.
Yeah, well, and I think they shouldn't have given away the hair reveal yet. It kind of ruined it, because not that she doesn't still look crazily transformed when she walks into the room. She does. But I feel like the hair was the biggest thing, and they shouldn't have shown that.
Yeah.
And you're right. The scene that they didn't show was when I'm like, oh my God, this looks awful. And, dun, dun, this is not going to work out.
And like, why would they not have wanted that? Instead, they have to make up a scene where you're like fake eye rolling at me.
Right. Which doesn't even make sense.
I know. I just don't know what these people were thinking. Like, I know they had to throw this show together in such a tiny, short period of time. But I'm still like, and of course it's easy for me, 20 years later in hindsight, to be the armchair quarterback and be like, well, they should have used this scene. But I just don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you say it's a countdown, and I say, I hate countdowns. They make me nervous. And I never really realized that before, but I'm thinking to myself, countdowns do make me nervous.
Yeah, it's like being on Tower of Terror right before it drops. Oh my God, I die. Do you want to talk about your outfit for a minute before we get to the reveal, like what it was and what the theme was?
Oh,
you talked about the shoe, but you didn't really talk about your hair.
I know, right? Well, I did kind of like a Grecian goddess kind of yoga toga type thing.
It was super cute.
It felt right. I don't know. And then, okay, finally, dun, 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 Anastasia walks into the room, and she looks amazing.
Oh, the reveal was just amazing. It was such a good, impactful moment.
Yeah. Kendra says we look like twins. I say I'm about to cry. Holly, you say you were amazed. And then they do side-by-sides of Anastasia walking through the door, which I think was a great shot.
Yeah.
Like her walking through the door like at the start of the summer, like just normal, and then her walking through the same door, almost exact same way, all made up and stuff. Like you can really see the difference side-by-side like that. And then you say, oh, you thought it was me?
Yeah, no, she looked just like you. And even when Hef walks in, he legitimately did not recognize her at first. Like, that's not a fake thing. Like, he legit didn't recognize her.
Right. And she didn't end up wearing the boobs.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even realize until we were watching this back. And then she like totally loved all our reactions. I know she said she felt like a princess. And then, where was I? Oh, and then you say too that Hef, it said before he saw her, obviously, that she's just gonna look like the same person with just a little more makeup on. And you were like, I think Hef's gonna be shocked what hair and makeup can do.
Yeah, which is hilarious because he literally walks in and does not recognize her.
But you would think if any guy knows what a difference hair and makeup can make, it would be Hef.
You would think.
Yeah.
But even when we were doing our pictorial, like, he just didn't know, like, how long the hair and makeup took and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is random and coming out of nowhere, but did you know that back in the 60s, Hef would have a lot of the playmates go on birth control before they shot to make their boobs bigger?
No.
Yeah, he full on told me that. Because obviously, like, birth control was new back in the 60s, so I have to imagine there were less, like, generic versions and variations. Because he made it sound, because now you hear people talk about birth control and it affects people in so many different ways, but he made it sound like it was just a no-brainer back then that if a woman went on birth control, their boobs enlarged. And I don't think it was every single playmate, of course, but he said he would often have the playmates that go on birth control before their shoot so their boobs would get bigger.
Wow.
Real healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, but he didn't know it was Anastasia. We had to be like, look at Anastasia right here in front of you. Because I was coming out of the bathroom when he walked in, and I think he thought that was her coming out. So he was like looking the wrong way, and then he was like, I'm confused. That's Bridget. Where is she? And she's like standing in front of him the whole time, and he doesn't even know.
Yeah. And can we talk about the sound effect they use?
Wait, I didn't notice.
Okay, so...
Oh, wait, are you talking about the picture?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, before we do that part, I feel like in real life, that scene, and we kind of talk about this in commentary too, that scene actually took a little bit longer than it seemed it took in the show.
Probably.
Like, it almost felt sped up, or like part of it was missing, because it really took him a good minute to figure it out. And in the scene, he stumbles on it a minute, but it really did take a long time. And in commentary, we talk about it, how something like part of that's missing. Like it took him a real full minute. Like, But then, yeah, Anastasia and I go to pose for a photo, and then, yes, I know what you're talking about.
So we go to take a picture of you guys, and Hef like sidles up to be in the picture, which is what he would ordinarily do.
Yeah.
He loves taking pictures. And I don't think there was anything inappropriate about how he was behaving that day. It's not like the galloping day that we talked about a couple episodes ago. But I don't think there was anything, inappropriate. But they add this screeching noise, like a car tire screeching when he sidles up to Anastasia, and I think it's really distasteful. And I think what they wanted the impression of it to be, because this is what I take away from it watching it, is that Hef is so desperate to get up next to the new hot girl.
Yes, that's exactly what I have in my notes.
So inappropriate and gross. Like, can they stop it and leave the 18-year-old alone?
Yeah, that's exactly what I have in my notes. I'm like, the show, and this is not Hef, you guys. The show is trying to make it seem like he needs to be next to the new hot young blonde.
Yeah.
And that they want to make it look like Anastasia might become a girlfriend.
Yeah, it's gross.
And I'm just like, no, folks, no, that's not what's happening here at all. Yeah, so we were just saying, like, in real life, there's nothing gross about that scene. It's, like, very normal what Hef's doing. Like, he loves to be in the photos. And
yeah, and that's just kind of the way he sidles up for a photo. But the sound effect turns it into something else, and I don't like it.
And I do think the show is trying to be funny.
But it's not funny. She's 18.
Yeah, but it's something it's not.
Yeah.
And I definitely thought it needed to be clarified in here, too. And I say, my mom is going to die. And we all go downstairs and await Anastasia's big reveal.
Okay, how nervous was she? I mean, we can ask her when she comes on the show, but I would be dying the way this is set up. I would be dying. And it's funny, when she walks out of the door, you see your bedroom door close behind her like a phantom. Like, clearly there was a producer behind there closing the door.
There was a producer waiting to tell her exactly when to go.
Yeah.
Like, they were like, and go, and open the door for her, and then, like, shut it behind her. But, yeah, I'm sure she was super nervous. She says that she was nervous and that she just wanted to go running downstairs and get it over with as fast as she could.
Yeah.
But of course my mom is there, and then you say she might not even recognize her own daughter. Yeah. And yeah, so Anastasia says she just can't imagine what the reactions are going to be. Like, she's, like, super nervous. And then we're all chanting, Anna,
oh, she must have been dying.
Which,
no pressure. No pressure, Anastasia.
And she does. When she comes out of the room, she looks shaky and scared.
I would be. I'd be terrified. And did you notice when they're interviewing your mom how cute the background is?
No.
It's in your room, but they have, it's the best setup interview I've seen out of all of Girls Next Door. And I don't know why they didn't just plop you there for your interviews. Because it's your room, but, like, over on the side behind your mom is, like, your vanity with, like, the Playboy Letterman's jacket draped over the chair. And it just looks so cute and so perfect. And I'm like, why did they ever do that setup again? It was so good.
Interesting.
Like, maybe Kevin hated it, because I know Kevin was super, super picky about those interview setups. But I thought it was the cutest one I've seen in this entire series.
He was crazy about our interview setups.
Oh, in Holly's world, it was a disaster because we did it on green screen, and God forbid you have one flyaway hair. Like, they were literally pulling hairs out of my head. It was just like, and he would have hang-ups about weird things. Like, one time I wore, like, a pair of chandelier earrings in my interview, and he flipped out. I don't know. It was weird.
Well, Anastasia said when she came down the stairs, she just didn't even look around. And my mom goes, "Oh my gosh, it's Bridget."
Yeah.
Yeah, Kendra says she had that Anastasia had a smile from ear to ear. And I'm teary-eyed, of course, but I get that from my mom, by the way. Anastasia gives my mom a big hug and talks about how happy my mom, and my mom starts crying. And Anastasia says that this is the best gift she's ever gotten in her life, and she tears up.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it makes me so happy all over again. And even rewatching it, I was, like, getting all teary-eyed.
Yeah.
So she says it was more than a dream come true for her, because it was something she'd never even dreamt of. Like, she wasn't, like, coming to the mansion going, "Oh, I hope I get a makeover.
Yeah,
I hope
exactly.
I'm going to, like, do this too." So, and then they kind of, like, exit out to the party with Anastasia's POV, sort of, like, kind of going out to the first time.
And I wanted to talk a little bit, because I think this is the first big party that we've shot Girls Next Door at. Do you remember when the show would film us at one of Hef's big parties, the actual Girls Next Door cameras didn't stick around very long, did they?
I don't think so, because they could always use John's footage later.
Yeah, because Hef always had a personal videographer just going around and filming everything. And plus, like, for Girls Next Door, like, there's always music blaring at the parties. So they
Yeah.
can only, like, use the footage if they're, like, cutting cleared music over it or cutting voice over it. So it didn't even really do us any good to be, like, mic'd at those parties, really. Like, sometimes we were, but, like, what were they even going to get from it? And I bring this up because in that interview with Hef's hairdresser that we'll talk about more on our Patreon, the two hosts of the interview and then the hairdresser are talking about how, like, the Playboy parties went downhill, and one of them goes, yeah, it was because they did that show Girls Next Door. That just overexposed it. Okay, fuck off. That's not what it was. I can tell you exactly what it was and why the parties went downhill. One was because Playboy was struggling financially, so they had to start selling tickets to the parties, which made it completely not exclusive. And I don't know what the numbers of the guest list were, but when I went back after I moved out to that one party, it just seemed so motherfucking crowded. Like, I think they maxed that place out capacity, which made it so much less fun. And the other thing that made the parties go downhill was everybody had a smartphone on them. Because, like, when I first started going, nobody had a camera phone. You were not allowed to bring a camera in. If you were found with a camera, you got immediately kicked out.
Yeah.
So it felt very private. Like, the only person taking pictures or video was Hef. So you just felt, even celebrities felt like they could go and it would be totally private. It wasn't because Girls Next Door overexposed it. First of all, our cameras were barely at the parties.
Yeah.
And even on the show, like, you see, like, little snippets of the Midsummer Night's Dream party, but you barely see any of it. And it's not like it made the party actually accessible to more people until Playboy decided to start selling tickets.
Right.
Like, it's not because of us or our show at all. So you can shove that one up your ass. Can you guys tell how I feel about that interview?
Well, it's totally true. And I am tired of people blaming Girls Next Door on, like, ruining the mystique of Playboy.
Me too.
And I feel like it's our fault.
And I feel like it's misogynistic because they want to blame it on the women. Like, oh, the women finally get a little attention and a little bit of piece of the pie. So that's what tumbled it.
And back to the cameras, too. Do you remember, so no cameras at all ever allowed at the mansion parties. But then do you remember, like, the first time Hef let us each have a disposable camera? And we tried to, like, take photos. I can't tell you how many times security came and tried to, or people that worked for the mansion came and tried to take it out of my hand and told me I wasn't allowed to do that.
I remember you telling me that. I didn't have that experience because I wasn't really allowed to, like, walk away from the table too much.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm sure if you were, like, walking around the party, people were probably like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and it was just like, I was just taking pictures of me and, like, playmates and friends. It wasn't like I'm trying to, like, saddle up to every celebrity that comes by. No celebrity pictures. I didn't even care. And they, like, confiscated my camera at one point and, like, scolded me big time.
Oh my gosh.
I had to go back and say something to Hef. Like, they took my camera away.
Yeah, that's how strict it was, you guys. Like, nobody was allowed. Like, even if, like, the Playmate of the Year walked in with a camera, she would have been like, nope.
Yeah. You say, then the next scene is we're out at the Midsummer party. You say that this Midsummer was the best one because we had a really good group of people. And then we start wrapping up the season because this is the last, as far as we know at this point, this is the last episode of Girls Next Door.
Yeah, they only ordered 8 episodes initially for season 1. So they have us give these, like, grand wrap-up statements as if it's like a series finale. And you go first.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your statement?
Yeah, I say this summer has been a whirlwind. The dream of being in the magazine finally realized. I got to share it with my sister and now my mom at the Midsummer Night Dream Party. And I'm just so excited about where everything's going and finding a new dream.
Yeah. So mine comes next. And my wrap-up statement was just very, very practical. I was saying, like, my goals are to one day get my degree. I want to have kids. I think I say one other thing, but I forget.
More dogs.
Oh, yeah, and get more dogs, which I don't think I did. I think I was at my max of 4 dogs for a while. I would get more later, but so I give these things that I want to do, and they're all kind of things that I definitely want, but are also things that I could conceivably do in Hef's world. Like, there's no mention of me, like, wanting a career or anything like that. But also I say in the interview, I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't know where any of this fits in Hef's world, but we'll see, which I felt like was a very real statement at the time. But I remember after the fact, after I saw the cut, I started to get paranoid about it. And I was like, oh my God, is Hef gonna be mad that I said that? Or are they setting it up to make it look like I might not be here if they get more episodes? I started to get paranoid about it after the fact.
Yeah.
But I was being very real when I said, okay, here's the things I want to do. And I don't know if that fits in Hef's world. We'll just see.
Mm-hmm. Well, they also go on to have you say, some people say that I'm stupid for being in this relationship, but it's very rare to find a soulmate.
Yeah, because I'm not stupid. Like, I'm aware that everybody's like capping on me for being in this relationship. And I think later on in the show, like, I lean into it more and I'm more comfortable about joking about like kids and marriage, like right in front of him. And I think it's funny when they show us funny reaction shots. And I was down to do that. I thought it was funny, but I think people take it way too seriously and they think I'm like an absolute fucking psycho. But here I'm just giving like a very real statement that like I know people think this is crazy and this is what I want to do and I don't know if it fits in, but we'll see.
Well, in commentary, you even say, which is just a year after we do this, that you don't like the way they cut what you were saying.
I don't know if it's that I don't like the way they cut it, because I think it was pretty real. Like, it was what I said. It's just I got paranoid about it after, because after you see like the rough cut and I'm like, oh shit, is Hef gonna be mad I said that? Because I kind of left it open-ended. Like, I wasn't super committed to him. Like, I do talk about like soulmates and stuff, but I don't make it sound like I'm super committed to being there forever. Well, are they using that and setting me up to make it look like I might not be here next season if we get another season?
Yeah, because Anastasia's sliding in there, girl.
Yeah, because so like I feel like I gave like a very real statement, but then I started to get paranoid about it after the fact, and I was like, wait.
But let's be real too. The interviews are hours long typically.
Yeah, you don't know what they're gonna use.
And you probably said all kinds of things as your wrap up, and you were probably asked all sort of things about your future and what your goals are and what you see and stuff. And this is just what they decided to take and put into this last scene.
Yeah, and one thing I should mention too is I talk about wanting to finish my degree, because I'd done 3 years of college before I moved into the mansion. But if I had, and it sounds silly, like why would you drop out 1 year before finishing? But it would have taken me 2 more years of school to finish my degrees, because I was a double major, plus I transferred, so I lost stuff when I transferred, so it would have taken closer to 2 years. But I very much still wanted to get my degree at this time, and I used to have recurring nightmare when I was at the mansion that I was back in high school and I was getting ready to graduate, and I discovered that I wasn't going to graduate high school, and I would wake up like like in a cold sweat. And I think the reason I kept having that nightmare is I felt so much guilt about dropping out of college and about not finishing college. And for years I felt so much guilt about it, and for years I was always like, I have to go back and finish my degree. And now I have no desire, just because there's always so many other things I want to do. And I came to the realization that like my whole reason for wanting the degree was because I wanted to like prove to other people that I was smart, and now I just don't give a fucking shit what other people think.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Kendra's drinking hypnotic and says she doesn't have a goal in life, which, I'm sorry, I know people talk about she's young or whatever. My sister is 2 years younger and has goals. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't have a goal in life?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we had a break. I mean, this was like the end of it. Like, they end it here, and we did have a break between episode 8 and before we actually start filming episode 9.
Yeah, how long do you think that break was? I need to look at my scrapbooks, because if there's anything interesting we did during that time period, I think we should talk about it in an episode.
Well, in commentary, we say that we were off for a month.
Okay, so we were probably off like all of August.
Mm-hmm. And that we got to see some of the episodes in that time period that we were off. Like, the episodes started airing, and we were doing some press for things, so we were starting to hear reactions now.
Yeah, so we were saying in the commentary that we learned a lot in that time period.
Yeah, and then, so like in the commentary, we talk about how we shot, then we were on a break, then we shot those next episodes, then we were on a longer break, and we're kind of like, hopefully it's just a break at that point.
Yeah, because we never knew.
Because they always threatened us that we weren't going to get picked back up.
Yeah.
They always made it sound like we were so controversial and no advertisers wanted to advertise with us, and that people were pulling their advertising because we were just so controversial.
How did you feel about possibly not getting picked up versus getting picked up? Like, were you really hung up on it, or did it not really matter?
after just this first season.
Yeah.
I think that I could go either way at that point.
Same.
I think I enjoyed doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not getting paid, so like
Yeah.
if they want to keep doing it, I felt like we should be getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of didn't matter to me either way. Later, I really grew to love it, and I grew to feel like that the cameras were missing something if they weren't following me 24/7, and I started to miss it, and I really wanted it more. But at this point, I was either way.
I was either or too, because at this point, after we finished those first 8 episodes, I don't even know if the mic picks it up, but damn, it's loud.
Yeah, this one's extra over the head.
Yeah, I was kind of either way, but I felt after we shot these first 8 episodes, I already felt like we had done so much more than any other of Hef's girlfriends. And because I'd kind of been locked in this bubble for the past couple years of thinking, oh, this is all my life is going to be, this is all I can do is stuff at the mansion, I just felt like we'd achieved so much, it almost didn't matter if we did another season or not. But like you said, later on down the road, I would start to value it more because I started to see the show as an excuse to do things that we would never have been allowed to do otherwise. Like, it was an excuse to travel. It was an excuse to work. It was an excuse to have all these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know that then because we weren't, I mean, by the time we finished filming this episode, the show hadn't even aired. So we didn't know how it was going to affect us.
Yeah. Yeah, and these first 8, we don't really leave the mansion much.
No, not at all.
Just so
we're day trip to Vegas.
Yeah, and nothing in our life is really different because of the show. Like, we're not getting to do it. Very much just filmed what we were already going to be doing. Like, we didn't get to add things to it,
except the pictorial. That was the only thing.
Yeah, but I mean, they definitely did that for the show. But I mean, like, we didn't know yet that we could add things that we wouldn't normally have done through Playboy to the show to get it done. Do you know what I mean? Like, something outside of Playboy.
Yeah. So that is what we thought was the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And we will be back with more stories about getting into the rest of season 1 because we're only halfway through.
Yeah, I'm curious too, like, if there's enough stuff in between, like, when we stopped and when we started reshooting. We might have to do an episode just about, like, what happened in our gap month.
Yeah, if there was anything exciting. I'll go back and look in my scrapbooks and see what we did.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys next week. If you guys want any more content from us, we are on Patreon at patreon.com/girlsnextlevel.
Yeah, you can hear us pick apart that last interview.
Oh God, with the hairdresser. Yeah, we were gonna go ham on that. So we'll see you guys next week.
Bye guys.